Hi, this is Dallin Stringham doing my video on behaviors 10, 11, and 12 for the speed of trust and just jumping into things. So I have two stories to share, one of when I did the behaviors well and another of when I didn't do them well. So the first one I wanted to get into is the one that I didn't, and that was, so there was one time I had a good friend who, she was very kind back in high school, and she had, I don't really remember exactly what it was, but just something hard going on in her life, some problems or something. And so she was telling them to me, and like I listened or whatever, but then I'm just like, okay, like let's solve them. And so I just start coming up with ideas on how to solve them, and this is how it's gonna work and everything. And she was pretty mad at me by the end of it, and I was just like, what do you mean? And so turns out what I needed to do is listen first, which is the main principle from this chapter. And yeah, it was kind of a funny experience because I was like, what do you mean? I'm a very logical person and a lot less emotional, so that is an area that I have to improve. But yeah, it really goes back to that, like, listen first. I like the quote, seek to understand than to be understood. But yeah, not that eventually she didn't want to help solving if she needed it, but I just jumped right into that. Um, the other story that is fun is, so I work in a jewelry store, I'm sure you know by now, and I sell a lot of engagement rings. And every once in a while, I have a really crazy request, and had a customer that came in and they wanted a very light yellowish green, natural 1.5 to 2 carat sapphire, and it stuff like that is just impossible to track down, and it was hard because I'm like, oh, I can do my best, but it's not fun to do because you have to call different vendors, and takes like a week to try and find stuff like that, or even get a chance, and there's a good chance that it's not the right cut or the color that they want. And so I spent a long time trying to find that stone, and I kept them updated, and eventually one popped up. It was such a miracle. So it would be like, hey, I got this in, and they came in and they loved it, and we used it in an engagement ring for them. But it goes back to I kept commitments, and it wasn't something easy. It wasn't something super fun. Of course, it is part of my job, but even then, like, it's the kind of thing that I could just easily be like, oh, like, I don't really like want to spend the time, and just be like, oh, it's too hard to get, like we can't get it. But I said I'd do it, and I followed through. But as far as like which behavior is trickier for me, honestly, the listening first is difficult because it takes a lot of practice getting to that point where you can just be like, okay, like I need to not give my opinion, not give advice, just listen. And so something that I really like is the 3 second rule, which before you start talking, wait at least 3 seconds once they finish saying a sentence or something. It might feel a little bit awkward, pause at first, but it can make a huge difference in your conversations. And these were some great chapters and great behaviors. So we'll keep reading. Thanks.